Hello. It didn't kickstart the lava lamp early enough. It takes a long time for that thing to warm up. How you doing? Hi. Don't you find it ironic that now that I could have, I got 14 terabytes of PDF books. Yes, I said terabytes, not gigabytes. There's more access to information by people without even leaving your bed. You could just like open up your iPad. That people are less educated than ever before. Also, too, the issue becomes information overload. People don't know what to read. I said a million times, too, that I could always tell what people understand by the stuff that they recommend you read. Happy Thanksgiving, by the way. That's in like, what, 4 days? Mm-hmm. This is a video on how to get by. Now, if you're a truth seeker, you have to be honest with yourself. I'm perfectly honest with myself, and I certainly know the places that I've failed in life. Of course, everything's about sacrifices. We are, as worldly beings, what we choose and what we understand. And there's only so much you could do in one lifetime, obviously so. By the way, I keep hearing this stuff from folks not on the right, but on the left. And it's really extremely evil. Just as a primer before starting this video, say, well, if somebody in your family, you know, you're going to plan on having Thanksgiving with them, you shouldn't do it because, you know, you keep your stress levels down. You don't want to be around them if they didn't, like, pull the lever in the booth the same way you did, and they don't, you know, hold the same beliefs that you do. You know, that's really tantamount to, you know, extremely awful. I had some other words instead of awful that I wanted to use, but I avoided saying them. See, I actually have a filter on my mouth, believe it or not. It's just so awful. Like if you joined a group of people that were like banging tambourines in the street, and you all wore like blue or orange robes, and, you know, shaving your heads, and, you know, beating on the tambourine. You know, the first thing those groups tell you to do is to swear off your family. Really very, very evil. I also find it incredibly awful that certain countries won't let you homeschool your own children. I mean, that is no different than saying, well, these are not your children. You're not free to homeschool them. We got to teach them in our ways, the ways of the state. And that's, you know, let's hope that never comes to the United States, but that exists in quite a few countries. I just wanted to mention that. I wanted to go over some tips and tricks, and some of these you could build around yourself, but some of these are universal truths. And want to make a discussion of some really important stuff, believe it or not. Before starting out, everybody keeps confusing, unfortunately, intelligence with wisdom. There's a big difference between peace and chaos. Some of the most depraved things that you'll actually ever see out of anybody, the neighbors will always say afterward, they'll interview them, say, ma'am, we know you live next to him. What do you say about, you know, so-and-so? Well, he's such an smart kid. Got straight A's and was a really high IQ. Intelligence, this is a fact. Intelligence actually can make you rich, and if you have information, you know, it could keep you out of a lot of pitfalls, but invariably, intelligence brings misery. This doesn't mean I'm praising ignorance. However, ignorance is not the right word. That's relative to the inverse of wisdom. Wisdom brings peace. Intelligence, if that's all you got, it brings misery. This is the reason why highly intelligent people are so miserable. And the more you know, the more you can see through things, and, you know, ignorance is bliss, up until the point that it bites you in the boo-boo, and it always will bite you in the boo-boo. I find it extremely unfortunate that no college or high school across this world teaches these stark differences between intelligence and wisdom, and people conflate the two as if they're one thing, and they're absolutely not. I've been reading a lot of stuff on various boards, and I actually don't like to go to boards because they're incredibly seedy places, but I know this is going on right now. I know a lot of you are experiencing it. And this video literally is about how to get by. I'm sorry I spent like 5 minutes on a intro to this video and a couple of other things, but people are really struggling. A lot of people think other people are doing great, by the front that they put up, and invariably you'll find that they're just putting up fronts. I've seen this so many hundreds, if not thousands of times in my life. So that person's doing great. He's got a wife and kids and making way more money than me, and they might have an easier life, but they're just putting up fronts, and nobody should ever be jealous of another person. Many of us fail in life. I'm about to admit a few of my failures, obviously. We've all had more than a few. As a side note, in live stream, I would request people stop asking me. I think that's because of all these tattoos. They say, do you do this or you do that? You know, meaning various, you know, molecular intake. That's the words. My answer is no. Never have, never will. I don't. Please stop asking me, you know, have you tried this stuff? Have you, you know, like, no, I don't do any of that stuff. Please don't ask me that. Unfortunately, it's become an incompetent world. I mean, it was incompetent before all this reset stuff started in 2019. My entire life, I've actually cherished peace and quiet and time to think. I isolate myself from incompetence. I try to avoid it as much as possible. And I never begrudge somebody that's unintelligent. I've actually made, you know, great, like some neighbors out in the countryside near my farmland. You know, I know the guy's illiterate. I don't care. I get along great with the guy. He gardens, and I buy his watermelons, and there's a little fly buzzing in here. You know, the stuff that he grows, I don't care that he's illiterate. I'm talking about actual genuine incompetence. I find myself more and more, it makes my life easier to isolate myself from that incompetence. There's a lot of things that that people like or don't like, and you know, some things irk us more than others. I found that making things makes most people happy. There's a lot of things I make. I write a lot of articles and books, and I do a lot of leather work, and there's other mechanical things I'm really good at, and good at building certain things. I actually greatly enjoy, and we have fun in live stream. At least I think we do. I like to make fun of this clown world that we're living in. And we really do live in a clown world, and it's gotten actually worse over the past few years. But I enjoy that, not the fact that people have gotten more incompetent, but I really enjoy a good laugh. I'll even talk to strangers out in public, and I say, did you see that? Look at that, look at that over there. There was two ladies, it turned out. They were having a backup contest. One lady was backing up, and I didn't know it till later. The other lady was like a gazillion years old, and the older lady's like, I'm going to just keep backing up. And the other person kept honking at him. I was like, look at this, look at this. And we were having a great fun. Simple stuff like that absolutely tickles me pink. And she kept backing up. She kept, at first the younger lady kept honking at the much older lady. Honk, honk, honk. And I don't know if she heard, or I think she did hear, but she just I'm going to keep backing up. It was a backup contest. Other people don't pay attention to that, but I find that incredibly amusing. It's just, you know, it's just a little window into clown world. I love seeing stuff like that. I was just reading, and this is one of countless examples. There was a thread started about like people, did you used to make decent money and now you're like broke? Basically was. And one guy said, I was a millionaire before Dementia Joe. And during Dementia Joe, my business went to heck. I lost everything. I now have $20,000 in the bank now. I bet a lot of people would be happy to have $20,000 in the bank, but at least everything's paid off, and I'm debt-free. I have my health and my family, and that's all I really need. I'm ready for the collapse and some real Mad Max stuff coming in the near future. I was actually reading every one of the posts. A lot of people said the same thing. Gen X people, which I am, were better off than the Gen Ys and the Gen Zs, who don't want to work and they don't want to learn anything, and they just think, you know, they should have it now and they don't have to work for anything. You know, nobody in my generation or older, you know, unless you inherited it or something, or you know, you're a genius of the stock market. And I wished I learned the stock market. That's certainly a personal failing of mine. I'll admit to a lot of failings. You know, I'm fat. You know, I should have done certain things in life. You know, I took 10 years taking care of my wife, slowly dying of a brain tumor, screaming every night from the phantom pains. And, you know, if I hadn't married her, she'd be a lot worse off. Her family admitted they would stuck her in a facility. You know, it's like, it's too much for us to take care of. And her family was rich, actually. They could have hired somebody to take care of my wife. Rich. Not that I got any of it, not that my wife got any of it. You know, that took 10 years out of my life. And doing the things that I wanted to do were not necessarily, you know, the best financial moves, but I think we've all made that mistake. The one thing I've actually known at an early age, even though I was never taught how to invest, etc., even though I was investing in gold and silver at a very, very young age, is that I see people renting, and you know, it makes me cringe and shake to see that people rent. You should never ever rent. It's no different than flushing your money down the toilet. It doesn't go to you. You know, you're not building up anything. You're just flushing the money down the toilet to somebody else. I beg people that tell me that they rent. It's like, well, I can't afford anything different. And it's like, actually you can. For far less than the cost of your rent, you could buy a couple acres on the outskirts of town, plop a used single-wide trailer on it, or like a brand new Amish cabin, which is like $10,000 to $15,000. Way, 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 way cheaper than renting. And you're not flushing your money down the toilet. And your land, you know, borrowing a WW3 is just going to keep going up, and you actually own it. You're putting your money towards something that's yours. So I beg anybody, you need to think different. There's an old saying, it's if you keep doing the same thing you always do, you're always going to get the same thing you always got. And if you keep thinking along those lines, well, I can't afford any. Everybody that tells me that they can't afford to buy anything is lying not only to me but to themselves. You can always get something, you know, 5-10 miles on the outside of town. It's, you know, it's like, well, I don't want to live out there. It's like, well, that's your problem. Until you could afford to live in the city, you know, you're better off living on an acre, 2 acre, 5 acre, depending what state it is, and a single wide trailer. At least it's yours. At least you're not flushing the money down the toilet. Of course, the trailer is never going to go up in value. Obviously so. The land, however, yes. So never rent. I beg people to stop doing that. The one thing that's really helpful, and trust me, it does work, and I never suffer this issue that I have to do that, but you know, I'll invariably do it, is that every morning you wake up, try this. You think, well, that can't work. Try it and it will work. Wake up every morning and think of 2, 3, even if it's just one thing, things that you're actually grateful for in your lives. Ah, my life's messed up, but at least I got my health. You know, at least I got a roof over my head. Something like that, whatever it is. You know, some of you it's like, well, at least my wife loves me and I got a couple kids that love me. You know, working my tail off every day. I promise you, if you actually do that for a day or two, it's like, wow, I didn't think that would work. It absolutely does work. Here's something I've done, and every one of you should do. Some things are universal, some things are personal. Directed only to yourself is make a list of universal rules to live by. I keep adjusting my microphone. Sorry about that. I've made up a long list. I'll just go over some of the most popular ones here. Nothing true is popular, and nothing popular is true. The one is, it's better to be hated and right than to be loved and wrong. I see that all over the world. People are, you know, they just want to be liked. And I get that that's like a universal paradigm amongst most humanity. It's not with me. People say all sorts of gruesome things about me, and I get weird emails and mean emails. Not like I used to. I mean, there's still plenty of them. I mean, none of that stuff's going to move me after all I've been through. There's nothing anybody that can say about me. What are they going to tell me I'm bald and fat? You know? You look like Uncle Fester. Why do you got tattoos? You know? You think that does anything to me? That doesn't do anything to me. It's better to travel alone than with a fool for company. This is really very true. Here's another one of mine. It's universal universal also, is that if you can't debate it with ease, then you really are either wrong or you don't know anything about the topic. Debate doesn't mean argumentation. Specifically, it does in a formal fashion, but not that kind of rah, 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 you know. Not that type of argumentation. And if people can't debate it and you say, I'm not going to discuss it with you, it's like, well, you can't discuss it with me because you're on the wrong side of the facts. No, no, no. And then people are just in a belief system. And it's no different than a religion. What they do is they'll make a statement, blah, 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 and then they'll dash off. It's like, you can't debate it. You're running off. I'm standing right here where I was before. You're running off. You've lost. So it's something everybody should keep in mind. It makes being a truth seeker a lot easier. I promise you that with all my heart. If evil people love it, it must be evil. If evil people despise it, then it must be a good thing. Trust your instincts, but instincts are not emotions. A lot of people think instincts are excuse me. Instincts are emotions. They're not emotions. I actually am both a hyper. This is actually quite rare, believe it or not. Someone is either usually instinctual / emotional. People lump those together even though they shouldn't be. And someone's rational, logical. Give me proof. True retroduction, you can't have objective proof of something that's subjective. I'm both extremely rational and also, too, extremely intuitive. And that is a very rare combo. And that combination in my life has made me see through a lot of things and see to the root of things and uncover some super fantastic secrets of the universe. And I mean that with all my heart. And I would not have been able to get there through not only knowing, you know, this ancient lost art of retroduction, but also, too, being hyper-rational and hyper-intuitive. And by intuitive, I am implying, of course, instinctual, but that's not emotional. Emotions don't come into play with what is instinctual, and people think they do, but they're not the same thing. If you're not using it at least once a month or two, then you don't really need to buy it. I try to buy things that last forever. My mother went to the house in Florida and she saw this old 1960s can opener and she threw it away. No, it was this house. She threw it away. Like, oh, God. And then she replaced it with one of those ones from the dollar store, you know, because mine had some rust spots on it, yeah. She threw it away. Like, oh, God, why'd you do that? Well, I used it, but I knew what would happen. I mean, within a couple months it fell apart. I went on eBay and I had to buy a couple of those old, slightly rusty, old antique can openers from the 1960s. They were designed to last forever, and they basically will last forever. I try to buy things that last forever, because I only need, it's like, I'll never need to buy that again. I can't stand to buy something that's cheap and junky, and you know you got to replace it, even if it's super fine electronics. Like this, you know, this is a much older computer. You know, it's as fine as it gets, really. I don't care if you love Apple or hate Apple. You can buy the best, most expensive computer. It's still electronic junk, or e-junk. You know, unfortunately, I'm cursed with buying that stuff and updating, and not very often, obviously, so. This is not my main computer I use. I really don't use this computer. I use a much better one in the back room back there, but try to buy things that last forever. I try to see through people's ulterior motives, and I am really good. I got x-ray vision on seeing through people. Really good at it. I can see through somebody, total stranger, and just a heartbeat like that. That's the skill to develop. Interested in reading wise books, hello, and you should too. A lot of people read garbage. You know, I don't play games or read fiction. I haven't read fiction since elementary school, literally, and I inhaled books. I absolutely did. I'm completely against control of others. The government and the people that want control over you and me, or the enemy. I never looked up to doctors in my life. I know my doctor is a brilliant female doctor. She's now a farmer in southern Kentucky, near London, Kentucky. She's the same way. It's the reason why she got out of the medical field. She doesn't, same position on doctors as I do, and she's a doctor. Doctor is someone who took a lot of caffeine in college and did a lot of memorization. That doesn't mean that they're a good doctor. Well, I'm a doctor, how dare you? Well, it doesn't mean anything. Doctors are the second leading cause of death after cancer. I've spent my life avoiding religions. I've even known at a very, very young age that nothing true is popular. By the way, the ancient Pali word for popular is the exact same word for the word profane. Profane and popular are the same word. Patujana, by the way, in ancient Pali, not that you care. People are trying to convince you of things, are really trying to convince themselves. If they work really, really hard to convince you, kind of like people that knock on your door, and they, you know, like the ones that travel in pairs and they want to read the good book to you. They always travel in pairs because that makes them feel more supportive. If they're just alone, they don't have the intellectual prowess to have a chance to dominate anybody intellectually. And, they're not trying to convince. It's like a virus. It's like they're not happy unless they can spread their beliefs to you. Hello, we'd like to tell you about Guru Bada Bing and his mystical teachings that will deliver you, from this world to the... It's a virus. It doesn't work unless it spreads itself to other people. True wisdom is sitting there completely alone, even in the dark, with a smile on your face, a smile of genuine understanding. Wisdom is its own reward. Anybody who tries to spread stuff, or, like convert somebody, this is the path of, the path directly pointed at Hades. Not that there is a literal Hades, there kind of is, but, it can't be true. There's no such thing, well, this is my other favorite one, there's no such thing as truth by consensus. Herd mentalities are always wrong. Wisdom is never a group activity, never. There's no such thing as truth by consensus. Peer review and authority, if somebody uses the word peer review and authority, these are false credentials. They're put in place of wisdom. If you don't have wisdom, then these people use peer review. Who reviewed your stuff? This stuff's been peer reviewed. How dare you? Peer review and authority, these are the credentials for weak-minded and sheep. Not that there's really a difference between weak-minded and sheep. Something else, and of course we all want to buy the coolest gadget, latest, whatever. It doesn't matter how much money you got, it's the mentality of being poor, The mentality, I don't mean poor people literally, but the mentality thereof. Poor people buy junk. And you weren't taught this stuff in high school or college, and neither was I. Poor people buy junk. Wealthy people have a different... I'm not talking about people that inherited millions of dollars from grandma and grandpa, okay? There's those people, of course. Wealthy people have a different mentality. They buy things that make them money. Instead of like, ooh, I'd like to buy the latest gadget on TV. After you bought it, it's worthless. You can't even give it away. You spent a bunch of money on it. It's make you, I was happy with it for a few hours and I'm bored of it now. The mentality of the people that are wealthy, they buy things that make them money. I met some of the least intelligent people on earth. They started out broke as snot, and they got wealthy by making their money work for them. Instead of spending it, they spend it on stuff that they know is going to make them land, investments, blah, 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 blah. There's certain things, obviously, that I have failed at. I don't pretend, by the way, to be any example. I do know what works and what's universally true. I've failed in life, 10 years taking care of a wife dying of cancer. I have... Even then, it wasn't a real wife. I mean, she was legally my wife and everything, marriage certificate and all that good stuff. It wasn't a regular marriage. I got no kids, no wife, no brothers or sisters. I didn't learn how to invest at an early age like I should have been taught how to do. I've still fat. I'm covered in tattoos. I don't really care about that. I don't even see these tattoos anymore. People ask me about them, like, why don't you talk about your tattoos? Like, why? It's just ink under the skin? Why would I want to talk about that? No. I could go down a laundry list of things that I've, failed. Not really, not very long. Much shorter than most people, but plenty long enough. I remember when I was like a teenager, I was dropped off at my grandparents' house most of the time. And I remember eating like 3/4 of a big bag of Cheetos. That's embarrassing. But it made me so sick, I never ate one again. I don't eat candy bars, and I don't ever buy stuff like that. I know I'm fat, but I got fat off of regular foods. But I wish somebody at a young age would have told me, it's like, eat only natural foods. So here's something else to live by. I live by it now. Is that don't eat anything that didn't exist 150 years ago. Things that didn't exist 150 years ago. Doritos, Dr. Pepper, Cheetos, Chef Boyardee, ravioli. Think of anything else that's absolutely horrible that's really bad for you, If it didn't exist 150 years ago, you shouldn't be eating it. I live that way now. Believe it or not, I do. What did I have today? I had a pulled pork sandwich and some tomato soup. Yeah, pretty sure that existed 150 years ago. By the way, during this whole lockdown nonsense between like 2019 to 2023, whatever, I did the exact opposite. If I know that the demon class, and this is the GOVT, hey, stay home, you go outside, it's dangerous out there. I did exactly the opposite. I've been outside more, out of my farmland during those years than ever before. It's like, the evil people on the idiot box, the television, they tell me I should stay at home. Wrap myself in bubble wrap and sit in the basement and rock back and forth. I'm going to do just the opposite, and that's exactly what I did. Talk is cheap. And also, too, I know I got a lot of videos and I talk a lot during live stream, but I am never talking. I am silent 99.9% of the day in deep thought. You keep flapping your lips, blah, blah, blah. You get to the point. Blah, blah, blah. It took you 20 minutes to say something you could have said in 5 minutes. I try to be short and concise. Sometimes I fail at that too. If you're a truth seeker, you have to be honest with yourself first and foremost. But 99.9% of the day, I'm not saying anything to anybody. I can't stand talking on the telephone. I'm not a talker. I don't like to talk. I like being in deep thought and writing, building things, creating things. That's what I like to do. And I like wisdom above all else. So these are some of the rules, and it's a short list of rules that I live by. I'm really good at, I got X-ray vision, not literally, but nearly so. X-ray vision, I can see through people. I can see somebody's motive, like it's a flashing red light on top of a 911 car. I can see it. It's just so blatantly obvious to me. I can see somebody's motives and what they plan to do and their hidden agendas. They're so easy to see through people. I'll just sit there, and sometimes I'll say, I could see through you. Rarely do I do this. Like, oh yeah, tell me about that. Hey, you can call me later. When I really mean never. Oh, okay, good luck with that. I know a lot of people are going through a tough time now, and of course everything goes in cycles. This world is not fair. The Greeks talked about this in the antinomies. Fat, skinny, happiness, sadness, life, death, blah, blah, blah. The antinomies. This world is never going to be fair. It's not supposed to be fair. Existential life necessitates the antinomies. Aristotle talked about that, Plato, Socrates. I like to see things as they are. Just like natura naturans, a natural order. Here's all the things we'd like it to be, and they're the things that it actually are, or is. That's the correct way to approach things. People don't usually have the ability to see clearly. I prize seeing clearly above all else. Anyway, if you ever want to contact me, my information is in the link below. I'll check you out in live stream, and any donation in the link below is always warmly welcome. Happy holidays to you and yours. Lux Veritas.